Guys, welcome to J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today's going to be a great two-part episode with Brady Miller. And Brady is the digital content manager for GoHunt.com, and he's an avid backpack hunter. And he's going to go through his whole kit from start to finish, and we're going to be able to get to see all the details of this kit. Also, an Excel spreadsheet of Brady's that you guys can download is also going to be available at GoHunt.com, and you're going to be able to download it and be able to edit and put your own stuff in. So you guys definitely check that out. I want to remind you that Go Hunt Insider is the title sponsor of my podcast, and if you've been a frequent listener of the J. Scott Outdoors podcast, you've probably heard me talk about GoHunt.com and their insider product. Well, now, if you've been interested but haven't signed up, they are offering an exclusive 30-day free trial to my listeners so you can see why I think it's the best product a Western hunter could have. Just go to gohunt.com/jscott and sign up. The first thing I would do within Insider, I would check out is Filtering 2.0. Using that, a hunter can really see all opportunities available to them. You can filter by harvest success, trophy potential, buck to doe ratio, bull to cow ratio, season dates, weapon, and a lot more. Filtering 2.0 is changing how Western hunters find and prepare for their hunts. Go to gohunt.com/jscott and check it out. Now, you will be required to give a credit card, but your credit card will not be charged until after the 30-day free trial, and you can cancel at any time before that. So go check it out. I know you're going to find it to be a great resource. Also want to remind you that this month, Go Hunt Insider, the month of August, they're giving away 10 Kuiu sleeping bags. And the Insider members, each one of the 10 that wins the Kuiu sleeping bag, they're going to be able to choose which bag they want, whether the 0, the 15, or the 30. And that's just a great prize from a company that I really like, Kuiu, and great sleeping bags. I have the Kuiu sleeping bag and use it on all my hunts. So, guys, I want to thank you for your support. I want to thank you for all your emails. You can email me at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. I want to encourage you to go check out my new website. It's still under construction, but you can see most of the stuff is there. Go to jscottoutdoors.com. You can link to the podcast from there. You can go check out my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, and see a bunch of trophy photos. So go check it out. Also, guys, I encourage you, please go on iTunes and give a 5-star rating and give us some positive comments. That helps our placement within iTunes, and it's great to see the success that the J. Scott Outdoors podcast has with the other podcasts out there, and kind of sees where we stack up. So if you've already given me comments and good rating, I appreciate it. If you haven't, please do so. And let's get right to this episode with Brady Miller. Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we have the digital content manager from GoHunt.com, Brady Miller. Brady, how you doing?
Good. How about you, Jay?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. I'm anxious to talk to you today. I know you're getting all geared up for your high country mule deer, which you do every year this time, and August seems to be you're at your peak, getting ready for your season. What do you have in front of you here?
Yeah, so I'm leaving actually this Sunday for Nevada high country archery hunt. It's just a fairly easy tag to draw. I usually get it every year, and it's getting a little more popular, getting a lot more people up there. But fun hunt. You can hunt within 9,000 to 11,000 feet, and there's a lot of deer, and it's just that type of country that I don't know. I could kind of get made fun of the office for hunting a unit that I could maybe save my bonus points for, but it's just the type of terrain just set up for bow hunting, and just something I just just dive into and totally geek out on it. Whole backcountry stuff, super lightweight, having to struggle to find water. It's a fun deal.
That's awesome. I know you've had some great success in the past. One question I would ask you right off the bat, for those listening out there, Brady, what do you look for? Because you're talking about a vast amount of country that you have to look at there in Nevada, and you've also done high country hunts in Colorado and Montana and other states. Like, for people out there listening, kind of run through what you look for, and then maybe as you're doing that, contrast that with, like maybe things you've learned that you thought you should be looking for X, but really you found out you should be looking for Y as far as country and stuff to hunt.
Yeah. So, I mean, a lot of times what I like to do is I'll basically take a giant mountain range and I'll, throw it on Google Earth. Once I've already drawn, this is saying I've already drawn the tag. I'll throw it on Google Earth, and I like to do is I actually look for snowfields. Like if I can take you can adjust the little slider for like the image history, and if I can adjust it to like a early June, maybe May, depending on Google Earth if they have the imagery. Like if you see a snowfield in early June, I can usually judge that there's going to be green vegetation down below that where the mule deer are going to like to sit in the upper part of the basin. And so that snowfield will eventually melt, and then by come July, August, when I'm more fine-tuned in my scouting and actually hunting, the deer will still be hiding there. Like I've always, like back in the day, here's the part I kind of messed up on before. I was always like, I need to find water. I need to find more water sources. Like I need to find little streams, little hidden spots. But like really, it all came down to snowfields. And every time I found snowfields, like way down below it, I would even find little seeps in the mountainside. And like that's where the deer were getting the water, from the little seeps, or obviously they're getting them from vegetation. But that's where I was also able myself to get water, because I think 2 years ago I packed a lot of water and I also melted snowfield. But last year we didn't have those high field snowfields up at 10,000 feet in August because we had a really low snowpack year. So just basically utilizing Google Earth to find those little green areas. I know green areas are going to hold water. I can get water out of the green spots. Mule deer will also get it. Like I don't get my water with deer water, obviously, but it's kind of how I break down the basin, just finding snowfields, and then once you get in there, just really diving into those east-facing, west-facing aspects. That seems like where I find a lot of my mule deer in these basins in Nevada.
And is it on Google Earth? I haven't done that. Can you actually go back years past and kind of search, 2013, 2012, 2011, and match up those snowfields and see if those overlays or if those snowfields are consistent in a certain area? And does that allow you to realize that's a consistent spot where snow holds up and it melts, stays the longest and doesn't melt as fast? Is that something you can do?
Yeah, that's exactly what I do. Because you can take the little, I think it's called like the history timeline slider at the top of Google Earth, and you just basically crank it over to any certain date. You can go way back in years, or you can click on it and enter in a custom date, and if they have imagery, it'll pop up. And so you can compare that year to this year. Another thing that's great too is they have all those like panorama type photos on Google Earth. Like a lot of times I'll click on those and hope there's some granola hiker out there who's maybe taking a photo and upload to Google Earth. I can click on that, and if they show any bit of scenery, if they show that snowfield up there, I can be like, okay, figure out when this date was taken of this photo, and if that snowfield's there at that time, and then I can okay, there's snowfields in this area, there's going to be water for me, and then also if it's in a basin that looks like it holds mule deer, I just love finding those snowfields. Like that's like exactly what I did last year, because last year Lorenzo and I had those Colorado archery tags. We never stepped foot in the unit before, and basically that's how I was scouting, finding that area where I lost that big giant deer, was just looking for snowfields, look for that green vegetation, knowing that deer need groceries. Groceries are going to be there, the deer are going to be there, and it's high country, and slowly put two and two together, kind of narrow down your area, not hunt areas that are super dry, might not hold deer, and maybe they hold deer but not enough deer. I just rather find really good spots with lots of deer.
Would you rather hunt in areas that have lots of deer, or would you rather have just a couple of bucks to hunt? What's your strategy on that?
I mean, a lot of deer for me is usually five to maybe $8-10 in a basin. Like any more than that, I've had lots of struggles getting in on deer. And last year in Colorado, we had struggles of having too many elk in the same area we were, and so it's hard to try to sneak in and not bust all the elk out of there. But it's I'd rather have more deer, because as a bow hunter, I'd a lot of times it's like, okay, I'm going to waste 4 or 5 days trying to find my buck to bed in the right spot. And if I blow him out, I still want a few more deer in there to still go after another part of the basin. But I think it all comes down to just like basins that hold deer. I know there's basins adjacent to that also hold at least 5-7 bucks. That means I have 2 spots to go to. Like I have one basin this year that I found that had 17 bucks in it in one basin, and yeah, there's a couple of really good deer in it. But it's like, how am I going to actually get in there and get a buck when they're hanging out in like 2 separate groups? But it's like trying to navigate and trying to get down there on 17 bucks, and I don't know how many of those are like way down below in the mountain, but it's just like too many eyes.
Yeah. How often do you find these bucks in the summer and then target a specific buck? I mean, are you truly trophy hunting for a certain buck, or are you more at the stage where you're just trying to kill a good buck and you're not as picky? Where are you in the stage of your trophy hunting?
I think I'm kind of on the border, like in between both those two scenarios. Like this summer, last summer, the year before that, I've basically right now have watched one buck throughout the entire summer, and that's the one. Like I will wait right now 3 days if I have to put a stock on this one deer just because I want to go after him. But if the opportunity does present itself, or if I like say I blow him out of there one day and can't find him, the next day I see another very respectable deer, like I'm all about shooting anything, 170 to 180. If those deer come in front of me, I'm gonna definitely make a stock on them and try to get them. So I'm not gonna be that picky in a sense, but like I have a couple pretty cool deer this year that I'm really hoping to get a stock on. So I'm gonna definitely trophy hunt for them and hold out.
When you talk about deer that you've been watching, and I hear you say that you will wait 3 days, and what I hear you saying is you'll actually have eyes on the buck, but he might not be in the right spot, and you're going to be patient and just watch until that deer gets in the right spot. If I'm hearing you correctly, for the listener, what is that right spot? What is the right condition? What are you looking for?
I'm looking for him. A lot of times what makes me so I can't stalk, like last year I had multiple chances to stalk a great buck in Nevada. It was like one of my plan B areas because the main spot got blown up, but like he kept bedding below all these other deer. So he had like little small 3 points, another small 4 points. I would always, for whatever reason, bed above him on the mountainside. And it was a setup where it had great rocks, great like overlook where I could, get around him, get up on top, sneak down, and make the shot. But other bucks were sitting there, and they were always sitting away from these big boulders. Like the place I hunt has like a lot of big boulders, so I can kind of hide in between. If there is a couple deer here and there, I can kind of put a rock in between me and them and kind of sneak down on them. But like the bigger buck, the target one I have to go to, I always love him being above everything else, bedded, looking downhill, that wind coming up, and just has to be consistent, like him bedding there. Like if he beds at 9-10 o'clock, I'll still wait a lot of times. I'll try to get into the zone. Like I'll start trying to move around, like, right when he starts bedding, if I know he's going to stay there, because I've scouted him out and he usually stays there. But I like to know he's going to be bedded for at least, a good hour before I actually try to get way down in on him in case he gets up, moves his bed, or, kind of gets a little leery.
Do most of these bucks in the high country, are most of them bedded in the wide open, meaning no shade, they're just laying out there in the sun? Or do you find they try and go find shade?
That's kind of a funny thing. I have a lot of deer I've seen in Nevada that, for whatever reason, they bed in the sun. I don't quite understand it. I found this summer I found a group of 4 bucks that were bedded on a south-facing slope, and the closest tree was probably 100 yards away. And this was at probably noon, 1 o'clock. It flopped himself down. And, it wasn't overly hot out, but majority of the deer I try to go after are in some sort of shade where there is kind of either shade from a boulder or shade from a couple trees where they like to bed around. Like I've seen a lot of like old, digs underneath the tree where these deer have been bedding for numerous years, and I'm just hoping one beds underneath the boulder, because a big boulder, rock, cliff type area, that's ideal for me. It's so hard to get through the timber when they're bedded in the timber. I put a couple stocks on them 2 years ago and blew a really big buck out of the timber. It's tough when you get in that thick stuff. Yeah,
I think too, my wife and I actually have been hiking a lot. I'm trying to get ready for my Beaver Utah elk hunt, and we did almost 9 miles today, and It's amazing. You get up there above timberline, and uh, it's a lot cooler up there above timberline for one. But number two, when we're walking in the trees, there's like flies and bugs and mosquitoes. But
Yep.
we break out of the trees and get out there in the wide open. There's always a breeze, and it seems like the bugs are less. I just wonder if those bugs love that above timberline and just be out in the open because there's a breeze and there's no bugs.
Oh, exactly. Especially with those, like a mule deer summer coat, how it's so thin and so fragile, like around their ears and around their eyelid area. I'm sure they just got to get pested by those bugs all summer. It's got to be annoying.
Yeah, I'm sure. Okay, so this you're leaving this Sunday and you're going to be gone for how long? How long are you planning to be gone for?
I think it's a total of 9 days. So we're going to leave Sunday. We're going to we have quite a long drive, and then we're going to hike mostly through the dark just to try to get in there. Because I really want to. We have 2 days of scouting, Monday and Tuesday, but the season opens on Wednesday the 10th. So we're going to try to get in there and try to get set up. It's it's going to take us probably 4.5, 5 hours to hike in. And yeah, then set up, and I have the bucks already kind of picked out. They're usually always in the same spot, but that's why I want to get up there and scout them for 2 days and just kind of babysit them and maybe even guard my spot if there's other people that are going to be coming in. So just kind of get prepared, start feeling it out, let the mountainside calm down from us hiking up in there, and yeah, just have fun for a couple of days before the work starts.
Yeah, for sure. I want to take a quick break here, and then we're going to go into your gear. You're a gear junkie, so it's going to be a great learning episode for me and the listeners. So let's take a quick break here to hear from our sponsors, and then we'll get right back to it. PhoneScope is a company that makes custom-molded, precisely engineered smartphone digiscoping adapters. Photographing wildlife has never been easier. It is simple to text photos and videos from your smartphone and share them with your friends. PhoneScope stands behind their product with a 100% money-back guarantee. Get yours now by using the JScott16 promo code and receive 10% discount on all purchases. Check them out at PhoneScope. That's PhoneSkope.com or on Instagram at PhoneScope. Real game calls featuring the elk reel. Real Game Calls makes innovative, realistic, and easy-to-master calls using their proprietary, revolutionary design. They are located and manufactured in Gypsum, Colorado. Their calls were designed and battle-tested on some of the hardest hunted terrain on Earth. Check out elkreel.com. Use the promo code JScott and receive a 20% discount on all purchases. Go to www.elkreel.com. Okay, Brady, I want to talk about your gear. I know you've got extensive gear lists, and you always geek out on everything, which is awesome. Let's just go through all of the gear from the bow all the way down to clothing, tent, every single thing you're using on the trip.
Yeah, easily can do that. So I guess, basically my section of gear, I was pretty fortunate back in the day. I used to worked for the United States Geological Survey as a fisheries research biologist. So we were basically hiking around northwest Montana throughout all the summer, going to different lakes, going everywhere. So I kind of had a lot of chance to test gear out, buy gear, sell gear, and I've kind of geeked out over the years. And I kind of go on the ultralight concept, very minimalist, but I've kind of moved away from that slightly. I used to take a lot of things that were way too ultralight. Like I used to have an ultralight backpack that didn't quite handle it 4 or 5 years ago, and then I had some heavier things, and now I'm kind of moving towards still ultralight, but still keeping safety, I need big heavy optics. I love glassing. I need certain things that I can't sacrifice weight for, but I try to sacrifice weight everywhere else I can. That's really not going to affect me safety wise, weather, storms come in, but so it's pretty extensive. I think right now my total gear plus food for 9 days is looking at 45.8 pounds, and that's everything: sleeping, food, optics. The only thing that's not including is my bow and arrows and a few things like that. But I'm still trying to narrow it down the next couple of days here. I'm trying to rework my Excel sheet. I have a big Excel sheet that takes all the pack gear. So basically it'll take my pack, my sleeping gear, break them out into like 5 or 6 sections, and then clothing packed, clothing worn, optics. So basically I take every piece of my gear, I weigh it on a scale that it's not a certified scale, but I take a calibrated weight, and I set a calibrated weight on there to make sure every time I weigh something, it's recalibrated to 0 and everything's going to be like exact. Probably doesn't matter. I'm just kind of anal that way, but so weigh everything out. I'll weigh everything out into the hundredths of an ounce, plot those on there, and then I have a little formula I kind of grabbed off the internet and asking people how to make a good formula. So it converts it down to total ounces for that thing. So I'll have the optics and I'll have total optic weight, and then I'll also that the formula then will convert total ounces to total pounds and ounces, and then also a decimal pound, so I can like really get in there and figure it out. Then I have some like pie charts I created, so I can take like, okay, here's all my gear, here's where all my stuff weighs out. This is like where the heaviest section of my pack list is. So say the heaviest section is obviously going to be optics for me. So let's say like, okay, I want to try to cut some of that weight down optics section. I could be like, okay, I'm going to take out my 10 by 42s this trip and just have my 15s. Or let's say I want to try to cut out maybe half a pound out of my sleeping shelter. You know, I might take a really lighter weight sleeping bag and just use more of my down pants and my down jacket as my stuff. So I can modify my charts, and then it'll adjust my graph and show me kind of where my heavy stuff and my light stuff play out. And also, which is the scary part, I added price to everything in my Excel gear chart. And I wasn't actually ever keeping track of how much I spend on my backpacking gear, but it's a pretty scary number when it gets down to it. But luckily, this has all been put together for the last, I don't know how many years, 10 plus years of actually backpacking once I moved to Montana and then down to Nevada. But it's
and you touched on it briefly in the fact that when you were doing your job in Montana, you would be in the backcountry roughly how many days?
Sometimes we were in the day actually hiking around. We did 9 days on, 5 days off. So sometimes we were backpacking overnight for 7 to 9 days. Maybe we'd go out for 5, 6, and then come back out to our truck for 1 day, then move to a different spot and go out for 3 more. So we backpacked
throughout the year. I mean, it was safe to say you were 150 nights, 100 nights backpacking.
Yeah, it was pretty much from about middle of May to like mid-September was real backpacking stuff. And then we'd also stuff in the backcountry later on, but we were able to stay at a cabin and stuff like that. So our September and October weren't quite backpacking, but they were still in the backcountry and still had to hike in 6 miles one way. So we still had to be conscious of your weight and figure out, okay, what food we need to bring back in there. So we're not going to get a ton of food in the backcountry. I still get calories somehow. And so it's definitely been fun geeking out on it over the years. And like I said, it's kind of ultra light, but kind of still that line where it's still going to keep you safe and keep you functional and be able to hunt and not take away from the fun aspect of being in the backcountry.
For sure. And from what I understand, this Excel spreadsheet next week is going to be available on GoHunt.com. Is that correct?
Yep. I'm going to have a big article that breaks down everything I'm talking about here. I'm going to have a bunch of text and photos explaining, okay, here's my pack setup, here's my sleeping gear setup, and the photos of all the gear. And then this Excel sheet will also be included in the article where anyone can go download it. And you'll be able to see all my gear. This is all the gear I bring in a typical August, like mid to late September type thing. And it's all usually like subjective because I could, based on weather, like if all of a sudden, say I'm going to Colorado and middle of September, and there's going to be a big snowstorm. It's going to be really cold. Obviously, modify this really fast and add other things to, more down mittens, stuff like that. But this is typically August, September, and so everyone will be able to download, check it out, check out my stuff, and you'll also be able to edit this document. I'm not gonna lock it, so you'll be able to edit it. So you could add all your own gear, all your own ounces, and kind of figure out your backpacking setup. So it should be pretty cool.
That's awesome. I can't wait for that. And it's applicable for not only high country mule deer hunters, but I would assume anybody that's hunting elk, anybody that's hunting, Dall sheep, anybody that's going into the backcountry, that they can pretty much use this They may have to make modifications here or there, but it's a great blueprint base form to use, correct?
Yeah, correct, exactly. And especially for a guy who just might be starting out, I think this is a great tool to have, because it's like, let's say you're just starting out, you know, you don't have a ton of cash. You might have burned it on gas to go to a certain state or scouting or on the tag. You want to get starting out getting gear. You're not going to obviously buy a lot of the top of the line stuff. Like a lot of my cooking or whatever, I'll have the lightest weight stuff, so I have titanium. But a lot of, like, you could think, okay, should you get titanium when you buy titanium compared to aluminum? You might save 3 to 5 ounces, but to save 3 to 5 ounces here or there, it's going to cost you 25, 30, 40, 50 bucks extra just to like switch to lighter weight gear. So you could use this over the years to, like, you know, gather your baseline together. Like I said earlier, those pie charts would be really helpful. To like, okay, my shelter gear is really, really heavy. How can I cut these down? You can slowly, you know, narrow it down by looking at the pie charts and looking at your total ounces, and, you know, over the years, make a really good backpacking setup. So you don't have to go crazy and buy all this stuff right away. Like, I've added to this obviously over a lot of years. Like, some of the same pieces of gear, like, I've been using forever. Like, I haven't changed any of it. It's been good and been really good to me. And
that's awesome. Let's dive into it. Just start wherever you want and just start. Let's go through this list.
Okay, yeah. So I have the top part is going to be my pack and sleeping gear. So my pack section I have broken out. It's pretty simple. It's just my Exo Mountain 5500 pack. This pack weighs 84 ounces, and so I have that 84 written in there. And then I have a Kuiu pack rain cover. I always like to have some sort of rain cover in my pack. So that's just, I try to keep it simple for that section. That's my pack area. And then my sleeping gear, this is going to break down my shelter, sleeping pad, all the way through stuff sacks and tent stakes. So my shelter, it's a one-man, it's like a really ultra-light, it's basically like a tarp tent hybrid. It's called a tarp tent Pro Trail. And this is the weight including guy lines. I have a lot of guy lines pulled out on the side to keep, you know, wind and everything. It's 28.45 ounces, so it's a really ultralight one-man. You might be able to squeeze 2-man into it if you really wanted to, but it's just that's like a bathtub floor on it and a little mesh on the sides, and it's just what I really loved about it. It's just super lightweight, really really small. I can kind of fit it. It's almost like taking a bivy sack out there. You can kind of fit it in these narrow little spots, because like Nevada, there really is no flat spots on any of these high peaks. And I'm constantly trying to find a really good flat spot. Like a big 2-man tent, you're going to kind of struggle to put in the high country. So I always love a single man. Even last year we went to Colorado. We did find a little meadow area, but it's just like those 1-man tents always seem to fit better. Just a little suggestion I had then. For sleeping pad, it's Thermarest NeoAir X-Lite. It's just a lightweight inflatable. It comes out at like right at 12.59 ounces. Then my tent, actually, I'm jumping the stakes now, but my tent, I use a trekking pole to prop my tent up, and a trekking pole in the front and a trekking pole in the back. So I was hiking with trekking poles, and it's just a double duty. I don't have to carry extra poles. That's why my tent can actually be really lightweight. It uses trekking poles. My tent stakes, they're also custom made by a company called Rada Lacura. They're 6-inch stakes, and what they are is kind of basically it's like a carbon fiber arrow with aluminum point at the end, kind of like a field point, and then aluminum back end. So it's super ultra light. It's actually a little thicker than the normal. Like a lot of people might get like titanium tent stakes. They're really skinny. They're called like shepherd's hook stakes. But the problem with those, and they fit in really well with rocky terrain, but they pull out really easy. So I like these tent stakes that are carbon fiber, and they're about the size of an arrow, so actually grip the ground, a little more surface area. So like a lot of times I get wind, it's not going to blow up my tent because my tent stakes are going to rip out of the ground because they're just really skinny. My sleeping bag, I always, from August till really late September, even October, I use a 30-degree bag. It's made by Feathered Friends, the down bag. And the reason I use a 30-degree bag is I always carry down jacket, and depending on the weather, I'll probably have down pants in my pack, just because I get cold and I'm sitting there glassing all day. And like late September, it's just nice to have. So I use a 30-degree bag. I figure if I'm always cold, I'll add other layers to it. And then I use a really lightweight Sea to Summit. It's an ultra sill compression sack for that sleeping bag. So my sleeping bag will compress down to pretty much the size of a Nalgene. It's like a little bigger than a Nalgene, so I can fit it in the small part of my pack. And then I also use a really lightweight ground sheet. And I guess I didn't cover weights on those, but yeah, my sleeping bag's just at 30 ounces, really lightweight. And here's kind of
one
like
question. One question I have for you, Brady, on the using the trekking poles on your tent. I assume that once you gain your elevation and you get where you want to be at base camp, you set up your tent and your trekking poles. I assume then as you go on your day hikes and out to your glassing points, I assume then that you don't take your trekking poles. You basically use your trekking poles to get where you want to go, but then you don't use them. And that's always been my dilemma of seeing these lightweight setups, but I tend to use my trekking poles throughout the day, so you must be camping fairly close to where your glassing point is.
Yeah, that's correct. A lot of times I love hiking up with trekking poles, and then like you've obviously experienced hiking down the mountain with heavy weight, like a bunch of out quarters or a big mule deer. It's so much nicer on the knees being able to work downhill, so that's why I carry the trekking poles in. But then during the day when I'm hunting, if it is super, like there's a lot of boulder fields and stuff like that, sometimes I will take my trekking pole. And then the nice part about the backside of my tent, since it's what does it stand? Maybe, I don't know, 3 feet, 3.5 feet on the front end of the tent. It slopes down to my feet. So the trekking pole by my feet is only maybe, I think it's like 23, 24 inches tall. So that back one, I easily can substitute and take that off and hike around with that. And if I need to while I was out hiking for the day and worry about my tent blowing, because that's now loose, I'll just cut a little section of branch or find a dead stick somewhere and snag. There's all sorts of dead timber everywhere. Even in the high country, I can easily find a piece of stick or something like that to shove in there for the time being. Because it's usually nice to have one trekking pole when you're going through the boulder fields and navigating it, or even like hiking steep terrain, going on a stalk before you actually get down and take your shoes off, is using it on the downhill side to help support you, so you're more careful, don't knock rocks over. So it's kind of what I do with the trekking poles.
Okay.
Then I have the clothing section. This is the clothing that is packed in my bags. This is not the stuff I'm actually wearing during a day hunt or wearing hiking in. So this is going to break down from insulation layers to all my base layers to my rain gear. So base layers, I use a KUIU Ultramarino 145 zip off, and that's right at 6.42 ounces. For my hat and insulating layer, always in the morning it's kind of cold, so I like to have some sort of hat on my head. So I use a KUIU, one of their new Peloton 240 beanies, and
I just got that in the mail today, like 10 minutes before I called you. I got that. That thing is amazing.
It's the cat's meow, isn't it? That whole the thinner material on the ear, like the ear parts, you actually can hear, and just it fits so awesome on your head. It's a money piece. It's like that, and even if it got colder, to layer underneath it with that merino layer or their other new Peloton, the thinner ones, you can go all the way from August to a late November or early November third season hunt in Colorado with that setup. It's an awesome beanie.
Yeah, it's like perfect. It's like what I've been looking for, and it's crazy. A lot of times here in Colorado, I've been getting up early in the morning and go streamer fishing. We float, like at first light, and I'm going to be wearing that beanie for the next couple weeks, just float fishing, at first light. It's just perfect.
Oh yeah, it's a great piece. So then we'll keep on the hats for a little bit here. So a hat, I also carry a KUIU boonie hat. I mean, it's goofy looking and everything, but when you're sitting there high country in Nevada or even Colorado, I don't like my ears getting burnt or my nose getting burnt. So you're sitting there in the sun all the time. You can't always sit in the shade. So it's always great. I have a KUIU climbing belt. I just always, keep a belt on. I've also really fell in love with the KUIU Peloton arm warmers. I don't know if you've seen those yet from KUIU, but those are like
they're
the bomb. They're the bomb.com.
They're in the box out there, and I think it's awesome because it can you can actually wear a short sleeve shirt, and if you want to keep the sun off your arms, but I got it to put probably over to, so my bowstring wouldn't get in the way. That was one of the reasons why I ordered those.
Exactly. Yeah, this is kind of like one of my things. Like I always try to find a gear item that serves two purposes, and this solves it because I've always in the past carried it was a black football arm sleeve, to protect my string from my bow, but it wasn't long enough for the arm sleeve thing. So lately I've been using the arm sleeves when I hike in the dark, because like, you know, a lot of times it's too hot when you're hiking to wear a long sleeve. Sometimes you might get a little too cold wearing a short sleeve. And so I've actually been wearing the arm sleeves with a t-shirt, and then when I get too hot, I strip them down and pull them back up again. It's awesome. I'm actually thinking about hunting in that setup too, wearing a t-shirt this year and just wearing the arm sleeves so my arms are staying camouflaged, because I hate putting a stock on with skin. I know a lot of people do it, but I just don't like. I thought it'd be full camouflage. So that's a cool piece. And for gloves, I use the Kuiu Tiburon as like a shell glove when it's kind of cold in the morning glassing, and inside of that, so if it's really cold, I'll use their new Peloton 200 glove. Just kind of keep things simple. I don't really ever need anything more than that. In Nevada and Colorado, I'll throw in a down mitten. And this is why right now I'm still on the fence. I might ditch my Ultra Merino 145 and just keep the t-shirt, and then use a 145 long sleeve. So I'm still on the fence on what I'm going to do, because those arm sleeves are money. But for more insulating layers, I will take the Kuiu Peloton 200 zip tee. It's a hoodie. So back in the day, I used to have more of like a soft shell jacket. Then I used to have some merino layers, and I had some in-between layers. And now with that new Peloton synthetic layer, I'm able to use that as my outer layer, so it kind of blocks the wind underneath that of merino. And then if it's really cold, I have a super down jacket. And if it's windy, also I'll throw rain gear on. So I'm trying to like narrow down my base layers as much as I can. So I just have the merino base layer, like I said, the insulating Peloton, and then a down jacket if it's really windy. And I can also have the rain jacket on for more wind protection. Just kind of narrow it down so I don't have to carry a heavy soft shell in there anymore. And that's why I kind of fell in love with the Peloton series last year. And it's a great line. And so like I said, this Peloton 200, super down hooded jacket. The Ultra Merino 125 crew tee, that's what I would use if I don't use
your t-shirt. That's your t-shirt that you're wearing as you're hiking.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then for rain gear, the Ultra NX rain jacket and Ultra NX pants. And I was a little on the fence if I should do that, because I already own the Chugach. And I was like, oh, these things are going to get destroyed. They're really thin. Like, I actually wore them hiking in Colorado last year because it was raining out. And I was like, well, I could wear my Tiburon pants and just deal with it, because it wasn't raining hard. But I actually just wore the Ultra NX a lot just as my daily hiking pant, and it zipped them down a little bit so it breathed really well. And they actually held up to busting brush and going up and down and sitting on rocks and glassing. And I mean, obviously, if I wanted to put a little more abuse on them, they probably would tear, but they're actually really durable. I don't know what it is, how they flex, or the four-way, how things like don't penetrate them and wreck the material. But so that's a very ultralight setup. I guess I could have talked about the weight of that. So like up above, when I was talking about the sleeping setup, my total sleeping setup is 3 pounds 1 ounces, and this clothing pack total, that was everything I just throw in my pack. That's 4 pounds 3 ounces. And now here's like clothing worn in. So this stuff I'll wear.
Well, actually, let's take a quick break here, Brady.
Yeah, no problem.
I have known the owners of the Outdoorsman's in Phoenix for over 20 years. They are the authority on optics and hunting gear. Outdoorsman's is the leading designer and manufacturer of high-quality tripods, mounting accessories, and pack systems for all hunters. Their customer service is the best in the business. Go to outdoorsmans.com or call 1-800-291-8065 and use the J. Scott promo code to receive 10% off any products. Utah Hydrographics is in the water transfer printing service, and they can dip almost anything into a wide range of camo patterns, designs, and colors. Whether it's guns, bows, tools, rifle stocks, vehicle parts, steering wheels, cups, or tripods, Utah Hydrographics loves taking things that are general looking and turn them into something that looks fantastic. Give them a call and see what they can do for you and receive up to a 10% discount by using the JScott16 promo code. Visit them at utahhydrographics.com or on Instagram at Utah Hydrographics.
Okay, your clothes worn in.
Yep, clothes worn in. So we're going to go the top, like wicking layer. This is going to be that Merino 125 tee, and that's super light at 5.67 ounces. For pants, I wear Tiburon pants. I wear them in Nevada. I'll wear them in Colorado because if I get cold, I'll just throw a base layer underneath that. I don't really want to wear. I mean, the tack pants are great and a couple of thicker pants, but it's just so light. Those are
Tiburon. Those Tiburon pants are the best early season pant. Archery elk hunting pant, high country mule deer hunting pant, spring turkey hunting pant. That Tiburon pant it's my favorite by far.
Oh yeah, those dot holes in there. It feels like you're almost it's like a fan blowing through, and that wind hits you and it hits those dots, and they all go. The wind goes around your leg. It's a sick piece.
Yeah, really good.
So in this clothing worn section, I also included my footwear. I'm sure a lot of people know I'm a huge promoter of shoes for backcountry hunting, for bow hunting especially. So I wear Salomon Speedcross 3 shoes. They're the shoes with like the big lug type things on the bottom. They're super lightweight. I'm able to fly up and down the mountains with them, and they're also really quiet. If I do need to stock in them, I just feel like they're kind of like a glove on my feet. My feet are just feel better without wearing a leather boot on them.
Okay, let's put this in perspective. How old are you?
30.
Okay, give yourself another 10 years and see if your feet agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's why when I lived in Montana, I would do a test thing. I would wear leather boots all summer working, and then anytime I went out scouting, I'd wear my Salomons, or hunting, I'd wear my Salomons, and it feels like you're like training your feet. That 2 pounds or whatever boot weighs on your feet all summer long, and then you go to, I don't know what are 15-ounce shoes, and you just like you fly. But yeah, I do agree. Yeah, maybe a few years down the road, I'll be changing this setup.
With heavy weight coming out, do you suffer? Do your arches and your feet, do you suffer, or do your ankles suffer at all wearing those? I mean, I totally agree with you on a stocking aspect, and I almost would say, wear a synthetic boot maybe that's lighter but gives you more support on the hike up, but then switch to those boots, and I almost think it'd even be worth carrying them. But have you experienced, your arches of your feet getting, really, really stressed with heavy weight because they virtually don't have very much support for your foot?
No, they definitely don't have. They're very minimalist. The biggest downfall, like you said, wearing heavy weight coming down off the mountain, if you find little small 1-inch, 2-inch little like rocks, and you accidentally step on them in the middle of your arch, you'll definitely feel a sharp pain. Like you kind of have to be careful where you're putting your feet, or if you do hit something with the front of your toe, you're definitely going to stub and you're going to feel it. It doesn't have that leather protective or that rubber rand around the boot like a leather one does to give you that support. So that's really downfall. And you can sprain your ankle a lot easier wearing the shoes. I mean, I wear them all the time, so I don't. I play basketball, 3-4 times a week, so my ankles are pretty strong, but there are definitely downfalls, and you can get wet easier. But yeah, it's just something I prefer right now, at least.
But it's also a lot lighter weight.
Yeah,
you're cutting like 2 pounds per foot just by doing that. Exactly.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah. Okay, keep going.
Yeah, so that was the Salomons. Then for a sock, I have a Kuiu Ultramarino Crew, and right now I'm probably taking 2 of those in. Everything else I've listed right now is just an item of 1. So I'll take 2 Merino Crew socks. And then for a gator, right now I'm running the Outdoor Research Endurance Gator. There's a small trail running gator. I haven't had a chance to try out the Kuiu ones yet, but I'll probably pick them up here later when they're after the season. And then for boxers, I'm still a fan of the Merino, so I'm running Red Desert boxers by First Flight. And so right now that's a total of the worn clothes on my body, and that comes out to 3 pounds 10 ounces. So you could also figure in, okay, you're a guy looking to save weight on your body, because that's also energy you're going to expend. And you could figure, okay, let's lessen up some stuff you carry on your body by maybe wearing different base layers, different shoes, different whatever. So I just do weight in there just to know what I'm wearing. Now here's the biggest one, optics. So this is where you definitely can go a million different ways on optics. Like I personally, I'll just go through it real quick and then explain it. I have a Zeiss Diascope 85 millimeter spine scope with a 20 by 75 power eyepiece. And this is a giant. Back in the day, I had a super ultra lightweight Vortex I ran. It was great. It was lighter weight. I just switched later on now. I ran a Swarovski for a little while. That was 65 millimeter. And then, this 85 is just amazing. It's really great for digiscoping and just low light. And I love taking pictures and video of deer. So it's worth it to me to carry a little extra weight in this category because I'd rather find deer, not be able to find them because of, I have optics that didn't gather light or lighter weight. So this is, 72.29 ounces. It's a beast. Then binoculars, I have a 10x42 Zeiss Victories, and I put those in the Kuiu Bino case. These are the ones I will be wearing on my stock just to be able to pick them up and find a deer, find an antler through the trees. So those are running at 34.23 ounces, and that is with the case, the binos and case. And then here's the Zeiss Conquest 15x56 binos. I use these off a tripod. And so I have three pairs of optics here, and this one weighs 48 ounces for the 15s. And so this summer while I'm scouting, I actually throw out the 10x42s and don't carry those because I'm just trying to be a little lighter. But I'm hoping maybe eventually to cut this part down and maybe carry 12 power binos and just use those off a tripod and then keep those on my chest as well and make a stock because it does seem kind of silly to carry 3 pairs of binos in. I don't know, do you carry always 3? Or are you going to do what are you going to do for your elk?
It's always, well, for the elk, I'll probably just carry the 10x42 EL range and the spotting scope. I don't feel like the 15s, you can spot an elk with 10s just fine. I think for Coues deer or mule deer, I think, it's pretty hard. It's a pretty hard decision because when you go on your stock, you obviously would love to have your 10s around your neck. But when you're looking, way across 2 miles across a basin, it's sure nice to have the 15. So I'm kind of with you. I carry a big spotting scope. I use the big Swarovski 95, and it's a monster. It's just like the Zeiss 85. They're both monsters. But the quality, you can look across a basin and, 3 miles away and decide whether you're going to go after the buck or not just by having a great spotting scope, where I feel like sometimes people sacrifice with a smaller, less quality, a smaller powered spotting scope, and they still don't know when they look over there at 2.5 or 3 miles whether they need to go after the buck or not. So to me, I think it's worth taking the big spotting scope. The binos is always a dilemma. For elk, for sure, it's just 10 powers. And I have the 12s also. I see what you're saying, but something about just having the 10 powers around my neck. If I was going, as lightweight as I could, I'd probably just throw the 10s up on the tripod and take the big spotting scope and call it good.
Yeah. Another thing you were saying about the big spotting scope too, I think a lot of people like to go lighter on it, but then you get, like you said, 2 miles out and trying to discern, okay, is this a good buck to go stock? I feel the bigger spotting scope, even though when you zoom way in on 75 power, you're going to get slightly blurry, but I feel a bigger spotting scope, 85 millimeter above, you can cut down those heat waves that always pester you when you're trying to say, okay, is it a mainframe 4? Is it a 3x4? What has it got up on top? Before deciding, oh yeah, we need to go hike 1.5 miles closer to actually figure out if this buck's worth it or not, where this way you could maybe cut out and say, okay, yeah, he's 150-inch 4-point. Let's go find something else, like pick through those heat waves.
Yeah, for sure. And, being a digiscoping junkie like myself, it's just doesn't seem right to take anything less than the big spotting scope because you get better images. You've got a bigger objective and you've got more light gathering capability. Your photos turn out better. So, yeah, for sure. So what you're saying is you don't really scrimp on the optics. It's your heaviest, but you feel that it's so important that you have the 15s, the 10s, and the spotting scope up there with you.
Yeah, I feel it definitely aids in being able to, you got to find an animal before you can kill an animal. And a lot of times if pressure rolls in like I had last year, a lot of these bucks that used to be up and visible every single day were now bedding longer in the morning. They weren't getting up right away. Or if they were getting up, they were staying in these thick willows and like little trees that you just couldn't pick them out, and they weren't coming out in the open anymore. So that's why I feel having my 15 on my spotting scope is a big advantage, because I could glass around every now and then, and there was guys in, the couple mile radius of me. I found their tents just through glassing, and I was actually able to see them sitting there glassing, and they're glassing off their knees. and what I'm shooting is 10 by 42 binos, and I was sitting there, rocking my 15s on a tripod, picking out every little bush. If I could find anything there, I would throw my big 85 on and pick out all the dark shade, all the bushes again, all the rocks. And like when that pressure comes and those bucks start hiding, I feel like you do need the bigger, more optics. You just can't skip on optics.
Yeah, one thing I didn't hear you say there is tripod. Which tripod are you using?
Yeah, I use a Slick 62 Pro carbon fiber, and that I just have a old Vanguard two-way pan head on there. I've actually just placed an order for outdoorsman setup, so I'm going to hopefully be rocking that later this year. But this is a great ultralight backpack instead of my tripod, and tripod head only weighs 41 ounces.
And do you feel like with that tripod, you are if you've got really, really high winds, you're going to have some vibration, but you're giving up a little bit of stability and sturdiness to have that real lightweight setup. And you probably feel like with your 15s and your 10s up there, and your spotting scope, you're willing to carry a little bit lighter tripod and sacrifice there rather than go with one of the bigger ones, correct?
Yep, correct. That's exactly my mentality on it. Like even on my digiscoping setups, I can notice that there's a little bit of wind. You can definitely tell it's going to be a little shaky, but I mean, I feel like since it's so remote where I always hunt and I do these big optics, this is one of those spots I'm going to sacrifice and go ultralight and just try to hold them steadier, or just try to use a little finger on the edge of my spotting scope to keep it steady. But yeah, it would be totally great to have a little heavier, or if this is where it's great having two people up there, because this week, I'm actually taking a buddy from Minnesota. He's coming out to hunt with me, and we're just going to rock one tripod, so we're switch up gear a little bit. So I probably could go with a heavier tripod in this sense. He could maybe carry the tripod because I'm carrying all the optics, the big optics, and that would work out well for people who are doing that, to trade gear with your hunting partner. So that's the tripod, and then I use a Olympus Tough TG3 digiscoping camera with a times up adapter. And I think I didn't touch on that. I use an Outdoorsman's bino adapter as well for my 15s and my 10s. So my optic setup, here's a scary weight about it: 13 pounds, 9 ounces. And that's including the bino adapter, that's including the tripod, the optics. I also didn't mention I have my Leupold 1,000-yard rangefinder in there. So that's including my rangefinder as well: 13 pounds, 9 ounces.
Okay, one question I have for you on your stock, since you're not using a range-finding binocular, you mentioned you're using a Leupold rangefinder. Where do you keep it? Do you keep it in a pouch? Do you keep it in your pocket? How do you operate your rangefinder?
I've done it in multiple ways. I did the pouch thing for a while on the side of my bino harness, but I just haven't found the best one. It was always a little bulky and it kind of flapped open. I used to have one of those magnetic Badlands ones back in the day that I attached it actually to my Kuiu one and tried to make that work, but it kept falling open when I was hitting brush while I was belly crawling. So right now I will keep it actually in my pocket until I get close. I keep it in my pocket until I'm taking off my shoes. And while I keep it in my pocket for a reason, because I can easily grab it, I'm ranging as I'm stalking to see how close I'm getting to the deer. Because I always try to wait roughly 150, 200 yards before I take my shoes off, so I'm kind of close. And then once I actually take my shoes off, I'll take my my rangefinder out of my pocket, and I'll just strap it around my head. I'll do that with a lanyard. And so it actually comes around right next to my binos, and it's always sitting actually right. It's pretty tight lanyard. I have it a little shorter, so it sits right underneath my right armpit. So it's just barely picking up and doesn't get in the way. It's not going to bounce around. It's hit my string at full draw because I'm a right-handed archer, so that's why it's on my right side. And that's a setup I really like to do over the years. It's right there, it's nice and tight. Yeah, I can definitely jump into some food here, and then get on some miscellaneous gear. So the food is something right now I'm still toying around with. Food I think is never. I don't know if I'm ever going to get it perfected. I always seem to carry way less food than I should, to a point where I come out and I'm very, I don't have much weight to lose to begin with. I'm 6'5" and 185 pounds, but right now I'm trying to up it this year, so this might seem normal for people, but right now I am basically carrying a little less than 2 pounds of food a day. So I have 28 ounces right now, and I'm still trying to modify this. My friend from Minnesota, he's big into working out and nutrition and stuff. He's been kind of helping me redo my food setup here. So I calculated out total pounds of food at 20 ounces a day comes out to 15 pounds, 12 ounces of food is what I probably will need for 9 total days. And I'm actually hoping I might cut this back short and do one of those. I hope we tag out and hope we kill, because it could get, I just don't want to carry 9 days of food. I'd rather shoot a deer, start eating some of his back straps back there. So I'm hoping to do that. But
is there a thought to a couple days in sending him back to the truck with the empty pack and loading up on food? Is that even feasible?
Yeah, that definitely is. That's what. Yeah, I've kind of talked to him about that whole thing. What we should do, if we should hike in a bunch of stuff and then maybe stash it halfway, and then go the rest of the way lighter. That way, if we do kill, we don't need that extra food, and then on the way back out, we'll just grab the extra food and bring it back to the truck. I mean, we could have them hike out, but it's quite a long ways, and I don't know. I'm still, like I said, still on the fence on this on food section, but so yeah, I can go through basically what my rough day, breakfast, snack / lunch, and then my dinner setup is. So right now is roughly 1,900 calories a day I'm shooting for, and I'm shooting for a lot of foods that have a lot of protein and a lot of fat content. Like a lot of my bars or my other snacks are really high in calories per ounce. A lot of people might say like the superfood 100 calories per ounce or more. That way you get more bang for your bucks, or more bang for your weight, I guess. I'm carrying it back there. So a lot of mine actually are 213 calories per ounce, 190 calories per ounce, is just super dense, like high caloric foods. So yeah, here's my breakfast. Basically, it's oatmeal, a cup of oatmeal. I think for my breakfast, I put all this into. My friend told me to take all this and put it into a blender. We're going to kind of blend it up. So we're going to blend up oatmeal, just quick oats. We're going to put a dash of cinnamon in there, a bunch of peanut butter powder, hemp seeds, and then protein powder. And we're going to do like either, and now it's like a vanilla or like a cookies and cream or cookie dough type protein powder. So we get lots of protein, lots of good carbs in there, lots of good fats. And we're going to mix it up into a dry blender and then put those into I'm either going to do Ziploc bags or freeze-dried bags. I have it vacuum.
Guys, thanks for listening to episode number 173, part 1 with Brady Miller. Make sure to check out episode 174, part 2 with Brady Miller. And thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all your support. Make sure to check out jscottoutdoors.com. Thanks.